So Wesley on April 2nd preached for the first time out of doors, and when he preached, there were 3,000 or 4,000 people who came to hear him. And on that day, while most came just out of curiosity, there were a handful who were serious and interested in the gospel that he proclaimed. Now, they didn't give altar calls then. That was invented in the 1800s. But the invitation was for those who were more serious to come and talk to him, and then he would encourage them to become a part of one of the societies. He continued to preach out of doors that month in the Bristol area, and 47,000 people came to hear him. It was astounding, and this was the beginning of the Wesleyan revival. He would go on to ride horseback across the British Isles. He would ride 250,000 miles in his lifetime, preaching sometimes 20 times, even more in a week. He would go not just to the hillsides, he would go sometimes to the churches that were closed to him, but he would stand on the graves and he would preach, and the church would be an amplifier of the sound of the preaching. Sometimes he would go to the market crosses in the middle of the villages, as in his hometown of Epworth, where you see this market cross, and where he preached many, many times. And across the course of the next few years, the parish priests would often get angry with him coming and preaching in their area. There would be others who would be upset with him, and they would pummel him with rotten tomatoes or with eggs, or they would heckle him, and sometimes even stones. And yet Wesley refused to give up, and this is very important. Two things I want you to notice. First, he was willing to do whatever it takes to reach non-religious and nominally religious people. The coal miners were not coming into the parish churches. Wesley took the gospel to them. And the question we have to ask in our own churches is, do you have a passion for reaching non-religious and nominally religious people? And what are you willing to do? What would you change about how you do ministry so that you could reach out to the non-religious and nominally religious people? And then from there, we have to ask the question, do you give up when you're harassed or harangued or when you're opposed? Because if you're doing God's work, there's going to be opposition. You will be opposed. And if you're doing God's work and you're opposed, do you give up or do you press on? And Wesley refused to give up. He kept going, and because he kept going, the revival kept going, and the world was changed. Those people who changed the world never give up. They keep going. Now, Wesley went on to send the people into the United Societies, and they grew in their faith in those areas, and Methodism began to flourish. And Jesus said he came to seek and to save those who are lost. And if we're followers of the Methodist way, we have got to be people who care about the minors in our own communities. And I don't know who those are, but the people who are non-religious and nominally religious, and trying to find creative ways to reach out to them, even if they're uncomfortable to us, as field preaching was to Wesley. And then finally, we remember in the face of opposition, we never give up. And when we do that, we have a chance to participate in the same kinds of work of God that Wesley saw happening in his day.